Hello everyone, we are the group 4 and we are going to discuss about the environmental crisis. By the way, this video is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Artines, to use this as an educational material. So, once again, our topic is all about environmental crisis. The members consist of Sumaganday, Edson, Espinosa, Luigi. Third is Navarro, John. Fourth is Padigos, Leonard. Fifth is Cabilao, Jude. And lastly, Gabriel, Allan. For our objective in this video, we are going to tackle and explain these all objectives, and those are: first, to discuss the origin and manifestation of global environmental crisis. Second is to relate everyday encounters with pollution, global warming, and desertification. Third and last objective is all about the ozone depletion and examine the policies and programs of governments around the world that addresses the environmental crisis. So let's move to the first objective. What is environmental crisis is all about? So environmental crisis is a dramatic, unexpected, irreversible worsening of the environment that leads to a significant welfare losses. This definition includes and precludes several things. Or an ecological crisis occurs when changes to the environment of a species or population that destabilizes its continued survival. So it only means that if our environment is suffering, we are also going to suffer it, like a domino effect, since we are living in an environment that we need to protect. But humans are not protecting our environment, and we are going to suffer on it in the long term. When did the environmental crisis began or start? Environmental crisis took shape as a series of environmental catastrophe during the late 1960s or in the industrial society, which means that we are in the developing stage of technology and machinery to enable mass production, like supporting a large population with a high capacity for division of labor, such as infrastructure, factories, and other buildings. So how can environmental affect us in our everyday encounters? So there are different kinds of pollution that contributes to the environmental crisis, and those are climate change, stratospheric ozone depletion, degraded air quality, scarcity of fresh water, land contamination, deforestation, soil erosion and degradation, and land use change and habitat loss, and lastly, biodiversity loss, or biodiversity is gone. For climate change, we can relate it to our daily activities or daily lives, since we humans are totally experiencing it. The sudden increase of temperature in our surroundings or the having extreme temperature of hotness are one of the indicators that we are experiencing climate change, and this is not good for us. So as a human, we are already aware of the situation that is happening in our environment. But we are neglecting the fact that we are not taking this seriously. As a human who experience climate change, or we humans who experience climate change, I must say that if we are not going to take this seriously and provide some actions that can help to reduce the crisis of our environment, it won't take long before this home could lose, or before our earth could lose. Extinction of animals are also one of the indicators that we humans are neglecting the environment. Most people know the natural world is facing great challenges and degradation, but few know the true extent of the changes and deprivation the environment faces, and its intended effects on human welfare and all other life on Earth. There is a great gap between the multitude of problems the environment faces on all fronts and the level of awareness that most people have on those issues. Given the urgent task of reversing the damages of industrial civilization and overcoming perhaps the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced, and that is to unite as one. Sustainable first to secure the stability of our future environmentally, economically, and socially, for we cannot trash the planet, destroy its biodiversity, alter the climate, and continue living off the wealth of future generations without condemning ourselves and the basis of our civilization in the process. So, as a human, I encourage everyone to save our planet, to save our environment by doing the 3R, and that is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. By doing that, we can prevent or we can help the environment to sustain its and prolong its life for our future generation. And we can secure that we are going to have a fresh air to breathe, and we are going to have a fresh fruits and vegetables to eat in the future generations, and we can inspire other people also to help us to improve our environment, since we already know that we are facing the critical danger of ourselves. That's all. By the way, I'm Engine Cadet Navarro, and that is my topic.
Good day, everyone. I'm Engine Cadet Sumaganday, Edson. Climate change. Climate change due to human activities that we do, for example, burning of fossil fuel, coal, plastic, and etc., which produces heat-trapping gases that keeps on increasing our temperature. Greenhouse effect is like a blanket in which it prevents the heat from escaping to the earth. And also, we are experiencing increase of temperature every year because we keep on doing the human activities that is keep on increasing the greenhouse gases. And also the unusual weather that we experience today is because of that. And next is stratospheric ozone depletion. Stratosphere is where the ozone layer is located 10 to 25 miles above Earth's surface. Ozone layer protects us from the heat of the sun or the UV rays. It lessens the heat that we experience, and also it is getting thinner due to the hollow carbon like solvent, pesticide, and sealant, and etc. Next is degraded air quality. Our air is degraded due to the smoke of the factory and also the black smoke or the smoke that the car release. That's why it affects our environment, and also it affects our health. Next is degraded water quality. The water is degraded due to the chemicals that is released in the water or in the sea or in a river. Also throwing of garbage everywhere, or throwing of garbage in a river or in a sea, that affects our ecological life. Also it affects the marine life, for example the it degraded the coral reef. Also, the fish is dying, and also it can affect the it can also affect the human health. Next is scarcity of fresh water. Scarcity of fresh water, or the shortage of fresh water, is happening due to climate change, natural disasters such as drought or flood, increased human consumption, overuse, and wastage of water. Scarcity of fresh water is experiencing by many countries such as Africa, and also it is drinkable water. Next is land contamination. Land contamination is contaminated due to illegal dumping of garbage, chemicals that is radioactive, also oil. Land contamination can affect the environment because trees or plants can't grow there because the land is toxic. Also, it can affect the human health. We all know that plant is a essential part of our environment because they produce fresh air. And next is deforestation. Deforestation is sometimes we call it also as illegal logging. Deforestation is bulbing of mountain or forest, or cutting down of trees, and cutting down of so many trees that to the point that the mountain is like a bulb, or no trees can be seen. We all know that, as like what I said earlier, that trees produce fresh air, and also it prevents from flood, and also it helps us to give food. And next is soil erosion and degradation. Soil erosion happens due to the strong winds or heavy rain that can erode the soil, because plants can grow well, or they will not grow because of physical force of water and wind.
Good day, everyone. I am Ancient Cadet Padigos, and I am talk about the land of change and habitat loss, and lastly is the causes of ozone layer depletion. So, the land of change and habitat loss, the transformation of land during urban growth. We know na kita human population is naka-increase man, so mag-need dagdagan og space. Mao na katong mga instead na sa mga animals to na mga panito, so ato na gamito na para sa tuwa. And the development of new infrastructure such as roads, the drainage of wetlands, and the destruction and removal of the coastal mangrove forest. So, biodiversity loss. So, what is this? The threats to biodiversity are not confined to terrestrial ecosystem. Serious concern have been raised about the future of marine and coastal wildlife species as a result of population overexploitation and acidification of ocean seas. Just what I say, nakita man sa nasa coast na nagadagan na itong population, so nag-need dagan og space para occupy ang sa land. So mao na o kanisang acidification masa niyo sa cause. So what is acidification? ang kani acidification mo nin siya og kanang kuan kanang murag kanang carbon oxygen gas na gikan sa atmosphere. Unya kana siya kay man siya cause nga dali ma-dissolve ang water sa ocean. Man na siya ang usa sa kuan. So next is global warming. So what is global warming? The emission of greenhouse gases due to human activities causes as increase in temperature that them leads to rising sea levels, melting of polar ice cap, floods and desertification. So we know the global warming no na kana kay ni ka na murag no na kay ni nato kay usa sa ni sa kanang mga big issue karon kay you know na nagkainit ang atong karon ang atong environment. So next is desertification. So what is this? Is a land degradation in acids, semi-acid and dry subhumid areas, collective known as drylands, resulting from many factors including human activities and climatic variation. So ani desertification mani sa kanang mga El Niño ba na or El Niño na kanang tungod sa kanang nagkainit ang atong kuan kay murag nagka-crack gud ang iyang mga formation sa kanang land ba or sa kanang surface sa kanang open ba. So pareha nang sa kanang mga magsasaka karon nga bas kailangan kanang kuan kanang tungod sa kanang murag nagkainit ang atong nasod manang mag-need og daghang water nya manang uban na kanang mga tanom na para sa kanang mga pagkaon nato kay dili na survive ba. So next is the causes of ozone layer depletion. So what's this? Ozone depletion is the destruction ozone in the stratosphere, where it shield the earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation or UV rays. So causes of ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer depletion is a major concern is associated with a number of factors. The main causes responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer is chlorofluorocarbon, or in other words is CFC, and regulated rocket launches, nitrogen compounds, neutral causes. So what is this ozone layer depletion? We know ang ozone layer man siya ang kanang below sa stratosphere na mao na kanang managiagian sa mga pangod eroplano. So what is the kuan? Dili nila ingon na chlorofluorocarbon ang kanang big factor ani na kanang nanong ang atong ozone kanang nakagubang atong ozone layer ba. So we know na kanang ang kaning UV rays kung mo dapat ni sa tuwa kung wala pay kanang ozone layer ba kay murag dako kay siya impact sa atong kuan sa atong panlawas, maka-cause ni siya cancer. Kanya ang kaning ozone layer kay kuan ni siya kanang made of tulok atoms. So kung ang ang UV rays kay murag mo igo ni siya padung sa tuwa, so mo sagang na siya sa ozone layer. Unya ang kanang tulok atoms na compose ang ozone layer kay murag bungkag na siya. So mao na siya marag kanang dili sa dingon na chlorofluorocarbon ray mga big factor ba nang mga bungkag. So mao sa na kanang super kanang natural na ways no na of destruction. Pero ang cause jud ani kay mao jud ni chlorofluorocarbon na man-made no na disaster na man siyang gigamit para sa mga sa mga pambugnaw ba sana siya na aircon, refrigerator, ay also sa sa mga styrofoam. So ang kaning chlorofluorocarbon sa akong pagtan-aw kay mo na siya made of chlorine nya. Ang kaning chlorine na kuan man siyang mag-cause na ang kanang tulo ka atoms na sold sa kanang ozone layer kay mabungkag ba. Ikabungkag kay mudapid na mo sikit na siya sa kuan sa kanang chlorine ang usa ka atom. So ang katong duha na lang ka atom so mahimo siya diatomic. So ang mao sa na mo process uban na kuan ba process sa uban na mga kanang formation sa kanang kuan sa mga atomic na man ang cause na kanang magaguba ang atong ozone layer tungod sa kaning chlorofluorocarbon. So, and that is all about my topic. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Cabilao Jude, and I'm going to discuss about the causes of ozone layer depletion. First is the chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, are the main cause of ozone layer depletion. These are released by solvents, spray aerosols, refrigerators, air conditioners, and etc. The molecules of chlorofluorocarbons in the stratospheres are broken down by ultraviolet radiation and release chlorine atoms. These atoms react with ozone and destroy the Earth's protective ozone layer, which shields the Earth from harmful ultraviolet rays generated from the sun. CFCs and HCFCs also warm the lower atmosphere of the Earth, changing global climate. Second is the unregulated rocket launches. Researchers say that the unregulated launching of rockets results in much more depletion of the ozone layer than the CFCs do. If not controlled, this might result in a huge loss of ozone layer by the year 2050. Increased international space launches and the potential commercial space travel boom could mean the rockets will soon emerge as the worst offenders in terms of ozone depletion. Soot and aluminum oxide and rocket oxides depletes upper atmosphere ozones, which shields the Earth's surface from damaging ultraviolet rays. The next is the nitrogenous compounds. The nitrogenous compounds such as NO2, NO, N2O are highly responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. Nitrogen oxides contribute most to ozone depletion just above, where ozone concentrates are the largest. This leads to efficient ozone destruction. From NO number 13, the ODP of N2O is lower than that of CFCs, primarily because only negative 10% of N2O is converted into NOx, whereas the CFCs potentially contribute all their chlorine. And the last is the natural causes. And the ozone layer has been found to be depleted by certain natural processes such as sunspots and stratospheric winds, but is that not cause more than 1 to 2% of the ozone layer depletion. The volcanic eruptions are also responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. The next discussion will be the effects of ozone layer depletion. The depletion of ozone layer has harmful effects on the environment, such as effect on human health, effect on animals, effect on the environment, effects on marine life. First is the effects on human health. Human will be directly exposed to the harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun due to the depletion of the ozone layer. This might result in serious health issues among humans such as skin disease, cancer, sunburns, cataract, quick aging, and weak immune system. And the second is the effect on animals. Animals is direct exposure to ultraviolet radiations lead to skin and eye cancer in all animals. And the effect on the environment. Strong ultraviolet rays may lead to minimal growth, flowering, and photosynthesis in plants. The forests also have to bear the harmful effects of the ultraviolet rays. And last is the effect on marine life. Planktons are greatly affected by the exposure to harmful ultraviolet rays. These are higher in the aquatic food chain. If the planktons are destroyed, the organism present in the food chains are also affected. That's all.
Good day everyone, and thank you Engine Cadet Cabilao Jude for your wonderful presentation. So I am Engine Cadet Espinosa Luigi, and I will be tackling about what are the possible solutions to ozone layer depletions. So first is avoid using ODS. So what is ODS means? ODS means is ozone depleting substances. These are chemicals that are harmful to Earth's protective ozone layer. And one of that is the chlorofluorocarbons, or what we call CFCs. And as we go back to our high school days, there are 7 layers on the ozone layer. And these are troposphere. This is the lowest part of the atmosphere, the part we are living in. The second is the stratosphere. The third one is mesosphere. The fourth one is the thermosphere. The fifth one is the ionosphere. The sixth is the exosphere, and the seventh is the magnetosphere. So reduce the use of ozone depleting substances, or what we call ODS. So for example, avoid the use of CFC or chlorofluorocarbons in refrigerator and air conditioners, replacing the halon-based fire extinguisher or etc. So why do we need to avoid using CFC in the refrigerator? Because they use large amount of energy. Electricity production is increased, which emits more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And we all know that carbon dioxide can harm a ozone layer. That's why we need plant to absorb it. So at excessive levels, this greenhouse gas can trap heat near the plant surface and contribute to global warming. So that's why it is helpful to plant trees to avoid ozone layer depletion. Minimize the use of vehicles. The vehicles emit a large amount of greenhouse gases that leads to global warming as well as ozone depletion. Therefore, the use of vehicle should be minimized as much as possible. So that is really correct, guys, because the exhaust of cars, motorcycles, or tricycles are a harmful or air pollution that can harm the ozone layer, because these cars or motorcycle will burn gasoline and diesel fuel that create harmful byproducts like nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other substances that can harm the ozone layer. That's why we need to minimize the use of vehicle, and instead of using vehicle, we can use a bicycle or any transportation that cannot exhaust a air pollution that can harm the ozone layer. That's why we need to minimize the use of vehicles. Use eco-friendly cleaning products. Most of the cleaning products have chlorine and bromine, releasing chemicals that find a way into the atmosphere and affect the ozone layer. This should be substituted with natural products to protect the environment. So, as I observe, guys, in the grocery or in the supermarkets, there are sometimes that they are using paper bags, and we need to implement it. Always use paper bags, because instead of plastic, because paper bag can decompose by the living organism, because it is a biodegradable, and unlike a plastic are non-biodegradable, and there are possible that people will burn it, and when burning it, it can cause a smoke, and the smoke will harm the ozone layer. That's why we need to use paper bags or use eco-friendly cleaning products. Use of nitrous oxide should be prohibited. So the government should take action and prohibit the use of harmful nitrous oxide that is adversely affecting the ozone layer. People should be made aware of the harmful effect of nitrous oxide and the products emitting the gas, so that its use is minimized at the individual level as well. So nitrous oxide, or what we call, and we known as the laughing gas, is 300 times more harmful than a carbon dioxide. So imagine guys, carbon dioxide is harmful substances, and nitrous oxide is 300 times harmful than the carbon dioxide. It really can destroy an ozone layer. And nitrous oxide in cars is used for a oxygen into the engine to make the power of the car to be powerful and produce more power in the process. And nitrous oxide also can used for people, just like a anesthesia, dentistry. These are used, and it is really need to minimize, because nitrous oxide can harm the ozone layer, and it is really a need to prohibited in terms of using in the cars, because nitrous oxides really can destroy ozone layer. And that are the solution to ozone layer depletion. Thank you guys for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Engine Cadet Gabriel Allan from Group 4. So, my part of our topic is all about policies and programs of governments around the world that address the environmental crisis. So, environmental policy, any measure by a government or corporation or other public or private organization regarding the effects of human activities on the environment, particularly those measures that are designed to prevent or reduce harmful effects of human activities in our ecosystem. So there are three major environmental laws. These are the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the third one is the Toxic Substances Control Act. Federal legislators passed federal legislators passed these laws to increase environmental regulations that uphold the rights of every citizen to basic resources. So the first major environmental laws that I will explain is the Clean Air Act. The question is, what is the Clean Air Act all about? What is the law is? Why this law is very important? What's the purpose of Clean Air Act in our society? So, Clean Air Act or CAA, US federal law passed in 1970 and later amended to prevent air pollution and thereby protect the ozone layer and promote public health. So the Clean Air Act or CAA gave the Federal Environmental Protection Agency or EPA the power it needed to take effective action to fight environmental pollution. So Clean Air Act is very important because it gives the Environmental Protection Agency the necessary tools to protect our families from a number of harmful pollutants that can cause asthma and lung disease, especially in our children. Weakening these standards would allow more pollution in the air we breathe and threaten our children's health. So, what is the purpose of Clean Air Act? This provides for the creation of a national program of air pollution management, focusing primarily on pollution prevention, for the promotion of mass media communication in order to create social awareness and active participation in air quality planning and monitoring. Today, as in the past, the Clean Air Act continues to cut pollution and protect the health of American families and workers. Fewer premature deaths and illness means Americans experience longer lives, better quality of life, lower medical expenses, fewer school absences, and better worker productivity. So the second major environmental law of my topic is the Clean Water Act. The Clean Water Act or CWA is the primary federal law in the United States governing water pollution. Its objective is to restore and uh, maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of the nation's water. recognizing Recognizing the responsibilities of the state in addressing pollution and providing assistance to states to do so, including funding for publicly owned treatment works for the improvement of wastewater treatment and maintaining the integrity of wetlands. So the 1972 Clean Water Act has driven significant improvements in U.S. water quality, according to the first comprehensive study of water pollution over the past several decades by researchers at UC Berkeley and Iowa State University. This act provides for the control of pollution from land-based resources and lays down water quality standards and regulations that act shall apply to water quality management in all water bodies. Uh, Billions of pounds of pollution have been kept out of our rivers, and the number of waters that meet clean water goals nationwide has doubled, with direct benefits for drinking water, public health, recreation, and wildlife. So the clean water helps farms thrive, and the rule preserves common sense agriculture. Clean water is vital to our health, communities, and economy. We need clean water upstream to have healthy communities downstream. The health of rivers, lakes, bays, and coastal waters depend on the streams and wetlands. Where they begin, streams and wetlands provide many benefits to our communities by trapping floodwaters, recharging groundwater supplies, filtering pollution, and providing habitat for fish and wildlife. So, Clean Water Act is essential to human health, productive economies, and robust ecosystems. The CWA is a comprehensive and technically piece of legislation that seeks to protect the nation's navigable waterways from pollutions. That why Clean Water Act is very important. Without this act, maybe our water cannot be drink at all. So that's why Clean Water Act is very important to our economy. So, and lastly is the Toxic Substances Control Act. So this act passed in 1976 gave the EPA the authority to mandate companies to maintain recording, reporting, and record keeping requirements, as well as restrictions on certain chemicals. Other provisions of the legislation known as the Toxic Substances Control Act, or TSCA, include the jurisdiction of the EPA. So the Toxic Substances Control Act of 1976 provides EPA with authority to require reporting, record keeping, and testing requirements and restrictions relating to chemical substances and or mixtures. Certain substances are generally excluded from TSCA, including among others food, drugs, cosmetics, and pesticides. This act protects human health and the environment by, among other things, authorizing EPA to issue rules requiring the testing of specific chemicals, and to establish uh, regulations that restrict the manufacturing, processing, distribution, in commerce use the disposal of chemicals and mixtures. So the purpose of this act is to provide data on the health and environmental effects of chemical substances and mixtures, and gives EPA comprehensive authority to regulate the manufacture, use, distribution, in commerce, and disposal to chemical substances, and it authorized EPA to regulate and screen all chemicals produced or imported into the United States to prevent unreasonable risks to health and the environment. As a research group, you must as a research group you must determine if TSCA applies to your laboratory activities. Since we all know that chemicals can be toxic, right? It is important to understand how they can affect in our health. Because of the TSCA, it is important to determine the risk of harmful health effects from a substance. You must first know how toxic the substance is, and how much and by what means a person is exposed, and how sensitive that person is to the substance. So that's all. Thank you guys. Keep safe.